Hello, welcome to Wisdom Wednesday with Fill Your Cup Learning Network, and I am your host, Joanne. Thank you for joining me again this week. Last week, remember, we were talking about some action steps of how to help you process grief and things that you can do to help you process grief or something really big emotionally that you're processing, things that will help you so that you can process a big decision, right? It could be grief, it could be a big event in your life, like a job transition. It could be that you are moving, right? Or anything like that. But some of the steps that you can take already and you can leave with so that you know what to do. This week, we are actually going to start a new topic. We might come back to the topic about grief some other time because there's definitely more that I would like to talk about, but we're going to take a little pause on grief right now. We're actually going to move into the topic of behaviors and behavior modification. As you might have seen from my very first video that I made, when I started Wisdom Wednesday and leading up to it, actually, I was describing what Wisdom Wednesday is all about. So Wisdom Wednesday, again, if you are new to this, thank you for joining me. I want to let you know that with Wisdom Wednesday, I want to share some wisdom with you every Wednesday so that you can walk away with something that you can apply to your current situation. And I will be sharing different topics throughout the months or each month or throughout the weeks, depending on the topic. It may take 1 month, it may take a couple months to go through the topic. So right now, as I had said, is that we're going to move into the topic about behavior and behavior modification. And this is a huge topic. As you may know, I am very passionate about behaviors and it's very fascinating to me. So with behaviors, there's so much to it, but it is a perfect timing also for those that are teachers in a couple more weeks. I know you don't want to think about it. A couple more weeks, your summer's ending and you're going to start your school year again. And for some of you, actually your school year might be just starting up again this week, or might be starting up again in about next week or 2 weeks from now, because some of you are starting up at the end of August. So I think it's perfect timing for you to really also dive into this because, as we all know, behaviors in students during the beginning of the year, middle of the year, end of the year is so different, right? You have the beginning of the year where you are just like in behavior heaven for just maybe a day or two, max, maybe a week, and it's really stretching it maybe into 2 weeks, so the first 2 weeks of school. But definitely by that first week or 2 weeks, you're starting really seeing these children's true colors, the dynamic of all the students in that classroom setting and how they interact with each other and what they do. And then you start to get a feeling, right? And it gives you that taste of how your year is going to go. It could be very smooth sailing and like, oh, I can do this. This is a great group of kids. Oh my goodness. Or it could be, oh, why do I have to go to work tomorrow? Are you flowing with me here, right? It could be one or the other, or it could be somewhere in the middle, right? And you are now at the point of then thinking about, what should I do with that student, right? That particular student, we'll call him Jack for this purpose so that we have a name. What should I do with Jack? Because Jack is acting out in class. He is being so disruptive. He is walking around the whole time. He is bothering other students. He was not quieting down. He is having a potty mouth. He is doing all these different things that I don't know what else to do. And then you move on to a different class, right? And it's, yeah, you have a prep time, so you get a breather, but then you're hearing it from the prep teachers, right? The specialists, if you're in elementary school. If you're in middle school or high school, well, then you're lucky. You have to deal with Jack for just that 1 hour, that one period, and then you might not see him until the next day. But then for the elementary school teachers, it's like, nope, you see him every single day, he's with you every single day. If you're the classroom teacher, and if you're the specialist, you still also have to put up with him a couple days in a row, and then through the rotations, he comes back to you again and again and again, right? And what should you do? So those are the things that I like to dive into, right? Looking at Jack and why he's behaving the way that he is behaving. So as we all know, students or adults, we behave a certain way. There's a reason behind that behavior of how we talk, how we act, and there is a reason behind it. So for Jack, like say, for an example, is when you are teaching and Jack is blurting out constantly, you have reminded him repeatedly, Jack, raise your hand before you speak. And he's still doing it. He doesn't care what you say. And then he's even getting all the other kids all riled up and going, oh, right? And you could obviously see he's the ringleader. He has such a natural tendency to be that leader. And he's getting all the kids to follow him and what he does. And no matter what you do, no matter what you say, Jack doesn't respond. And the way he actually responds back to you is like, I don't care. You can tell me what to do. You can tell me to be quiet. You can do all those things, but I'm not going to listen to you. You can't be in control of me. You can't tell me what to do. So what do you do with Jack? Well, I'm going to actually give you a real life example of a Jack that I had in my classroom. So this particular student, and we will name him also Jack for the purpose, right? So for me, it was like my Jack that I had in my classroom happened to be in 4th grade. And in this 4th grade class, he was definitely one of the ringleaders in the class. He'd come into the classroom, and when he came in, he was just rough around the edges. And I had reminded him repeatedly of, hey, Jack, remember to raise your hand when you have a question. And he just simply looked me, stared me right in the face and go, well, you can't tell me what to do. And then I was like, okay, let's try something a little different. So I like to try with students because I don't know which way they actually respond to. So there's times I like to be really firm with them. Other times I like to be more gentle with them, or maybe somewhere in between. So with Jack, I tested out being really firm and strict with him. Jack, you can't do this. Or Jack, don't do that, right? Firmness of like really setting up really tight and strict boundaries with him. Well, that made Jack very unhappy. He did not like that at all. He did not respond to that at all. So then I backed up. I always like to start off really strict and then start backing off and seeing where they're at. So then I started going, hey, Jack, can I remind you a reminder? Please raise your hand when you're talking because it helps the dynamic of the class. Still nothing. And then so one day I did something totally different. I called on Jack's name. And usually he's so used to getting in trouble, right? Because Jack has been known to be that ringleader where he riles up all the kids, get them all crazy. And so the teacher's always constantly calling on Jack to be quiet, calling on Jack to stop with a certain behavior. This time around, I decided to do something different to test it out, right? Again, testing out how Jack would respond. I said, wow, Jack, I love what Jack is doing. He is sitting down right now. Oh, Jack is going to get some extra stamps for me, right? This is again, because I'm in 4th grade, I'm talking like this to the students. And all of a sudden, I see Jack's response. Ooh, I love the praise and the affirmation. I love the compliments. And so those are the things that I started doing with Jack to build up that rapport and that relationship with him. Did it take time? Yes, it did, because I wasn't his classroom teacher. I was one of the specialists that they came to learn language. And so when they come to see me, it was, I think that time the schedule was they saw me twice week. And then it was then a long break, like about 10 days to sometimes even 15 days of a break before they see me again for 2 days in a row. And then it's a break. So it took a long time, as you can imagine, with that kind of schedule to build a relationship with Jack. But as weeks went by, months went by, right, Jack started responding to that, where I also went up to Jack to talk to him more about what he's doing and getting to know him and getting to know who he is. And those were the things that started to help Jack. And also me too, as I got to know him and as he got to know me. And he became one of my best students in my class to help me as the helper, to respond to different things. And he was just a different kid. I remember by November when we had conferences, I went into his conference with his classroom teacher, and I said to his mom and his classroom teacher, and also in front of Jack, I said to his mom, I just really wanted you to know that Jack is such an incredible student. I know that he likes to put on this like hard shell where it seems like he won't respond to you. He lacks respect for the adults and other students. But what I see in Jack is that he's actually such a kind-hearted student that actually wants to go above and beyond in what he wants to do, but he never was given that chance to be that student. And teachers always saw him as the troublemaker and saw Jack as that troublemaker and telling him to quiet down, telling him to stop it. Or if you don't stop it, you're going to go to the principal's office. If you don't stop that, I'm going to call your mom and dad, right? The threat. But what I saw in Jack is that he's not that way. He actually has such a kind heart, and he is super smart. He has a lot of street smart in him, and academically wise, sometimes he struggles, and that's why he also likes to act out. As soon as I said that to both him and his mom, they both kind of started to tear up, especially his mom. And she said, thank you so much for believing in my son and giving him that chance, for helping him to also understand who he is. And ever since that moment in November, it's shifted things for Jack when he came to my classroom. You know, for the rest of that year and into fifth grade when I had him. And so those are examples of how we as teachers, and I'm saying we because I have been a teacher and I understand the difficulty when there's students like Jack. And he is really shifting that classroom, and he is not even one of the worst students I've ever had encountered. There have been worse. But students like Jack, and especially if you get multiple students who are like Jack, that are being defiant, that are being disruptive, you don't know what to do. So this is what we're going to actually dive into with the weeks to come, and for probably the months to come. I would say my goal right now and kind of my plan is actually to really stretch out this topic, since again, we're only talking about it once a week, that it will probably go from now until I am like planning out at least until November and possibly into December, where we are diving into the topic about behaviors and what to do. So you've heard an example about a student, and you've also heard the action step of what I did. So if you're struggling with a student like Jack, my hope is that you have now taken something away from this video, that you are now able to apply it to your own classroom of the students that you have. So next week, we will dive more into behaviors, and then I will start talking also more about behavior modification and why I'm saying with my heart and passion of my business is bringing healing through behavior modification. And in the weeks to come, months to come, we will dive more into that to learn more about the importance of behavior modification and the healing piece of it and how that plays a role into behavior and modifying a person's behavior. So join me next week as we dive more into behaviors and behavior modification and action steps that you can take and apply into your own life as an educator or sometimes even as a parent, because it goes along also as at home as well. But you will definitely be hearing me talk more from a teacher perspective in the weeks to come and months to come, because that is where my focus is going to be at. So join me again next week as we dive more into behaviors and behavior modification. If you love what you just heard, right, join me again next week. Subscribe to my YouTube channel at Fill Your Cup Learning Network. You can also follow me on Instagram, and my handle there is Fill Your Cup Learning _ Fill Your Cup _learning _network. So again, it is, my handle on Instagram is Fill Your Cup _learning _network. You can also find me on Facebook as well under Fill Your Cup Learning Network. And if you don't remember what my handle is on Instagram, you will be able to find all that information on my Facebook page. So thank you again for following me this week on Wisdom Wednesday, and I want to see you back here next week. Remember to subscribe to my channel and like all the posts. See you again next time. Goodbye.